baby. Yeah. This one's my sister's. This is my niece. They came up for a little visit while we're dealing with Easter holiday and got a little bit of time to come up. The weather's been good. So, who are you? What's your name?
You see?
Lucy.
Lucy.
Actually, Lucy. So, you want to tell everybody hi?
Hi. I got a shotgun. A small one that has yellow, blue.
Yellow and blue. That's right.
And
So
blue
she's got her little yellow and blue gun here that she's been playing with her brother and her cousins with this afternoon. So I think Lucy just wanted to tell everybody hello as we get started.
I gotta shoot you.
Well, there's also that. All right, you want to go play while we talk about some weather stuff? You want to go play? Okay. All right, we're gonna let Lucy exit.
Bye, y'all too. I gotta shoot you.
She said bye, y'all too, and everybody else that's watching. All right, let's go, Miss Lucy.
I shooted them.
All right.
Yeah, Dave. If you've got to, you may have to mute your YouTube output. There you go.
Working on an audio deal here, real quick. I think. That's right. Very, very right. I wouldn't tell anybody, but no, wasn't aware of that.
Real quick. Good.
I do. I know Josh very well. A little bit.
Hey Jarvis, if you're monitoring chat, Josh says we don't have any sound from Dave. Josh, is that?
Check 2-3. I've been talking for a while. No sound from the guy on the left.
Oh my goodness. We're working out the bugs, I promise. Jarvis has got some fancy schmancy new equipment and we're working out the audio bug with
1, 2,
David.
3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you hear me now? Got me now.
Good
Well,
deal.
listen, I'm just gonna give you a summary of what I just said, which was a bunch of crap. Sorry about that. There we go. Josh says we're good now.
Yep.
We got a lot to talk about. We got severe weather possibilities. We have depends on where you live. If you live in the south, it's an eclipse. It's coming in a couple of days. If you live, out in the west, there's an eclipse that's coming your way, and we got to talk about that. Brett's going to be all over that thing in the mobile unit. And Brett, I'm going to let you tell that whole story in just a few minutes. Drew's over there in West Alabama, Northwest Alabama. Drew, you going to be there for the whole eclipse?
I will.
All
Hoping
right.
I think we're at about 93, 94% here in Northwest Alabama. So
I know that's just nutty. That's insane. I'm gonna be down at the beach covering it because there's supposed to be a rise in sea level to epic proportions. So I'm gonna be down at the beach actually with a measuring stick, and I'm gonna they call that a ruler, and I'm gonna be down there, and you know that's what we're gonna be doing. But right now we got a big thunderstorm there. Brett, you know anything about this?
Yeah, we've got a risk of severe weather up to the north just a little bit. Jarvis switching to the radar here. This is across eastern Illinois to the west of Terre Haute, Indiana right now. We've got severe thunderstorm warning in effect currently. I tell you what, let me bring up my Has Alerts panel so I can give you some specific information. That's Coles County, Illinois. That warning's in effect for another 22 minutes. Right now, severe thunderstorm warning located over Rardon or near Charleston, moving to the southeast at 40. Wind gust of 60 miles per hour and quarter-size hail are the current expectations right now. Storm will be near Ashmore right now, matter of fact. So 22 minutes or so left on that warning. It's pretty beefy looking.
Canceled it, didn't
they? Let's see. No, I don't see a cancellation just yet.
All right.
I see that they definitely have issued an update. About 3,000 people that are actually impacted by that storm, but it's a beefy looking cell there. Probably some hail potential based on the look of that core right now. But this is kind of the beginning of a multi-day severe weather episode, David, that we're going to talk about tonight.
I know you're going to be really busy. You're going to be driving all over the place, and I know you're going to be live streaming during the day coming up on Monday and Tuesday. So we'll be following you for that whole deal as it goes down, and we're going to be doing some live stuff around that too. And one of the things that we do is that we have the ability to do live coverage and use the plethora, the multi-millions of people who are out there who work with Brett and live streams. The LSM group that are going to be live streaming with us, and we'll be able to see what they see. And so that's always the best way to do that. You stay safe at home, and we'll be watching the weather for you. So a lot of stuff to talk about over the next couple of days. And if why don't we just start out with what's happening tonight? Actually, if you look at the satellite image that I took just a little while ago between this morning and what's happened through the day today, the constant stream of moisture is really starting to build up. Do what?
You need to switch to it.
Oh, God, this technology stuff, and they make me do all the. Yeah, so here's what the satellite looks like. And, Brett, you can see the southwesterly flow is already beginning to come back, cloud streaming back into the southeastern United States, even today where you and I live.
Right. That southwesterly flow is going to be basically increasing across portions of the midsection of the country. That's what we're going to be looking for. That system ejecting out of the southwest should set the stage for some severe weather. You see that low rotating there across southwestern California, moving inland there across San Diego Valley, and that will continue to move east. It'll shear out somewhat as it comes across portions of the Four Corners region, and we're going to see that system really begin to eject out later tomorrow into tomorrow night, cause that severe weather potential that we're expecting really across portions of the southern plains and the mid-Missouri Valley, and that will expand eastward into portions of the Ohio Valley on your Tuesday.
Yeah, already some of that thunderstorm stuff that we were looking at on the satellite imagery. Drew, you can see some thunderstorms, the ones that we were just looking at a few moments ago that were popping up, and we've got those on the satellite image as well. And all that, really most of it was convective during the day today, but we still have some nocturnal stuff going on tonight also.
Yeah, that storm, I saw somebody tweet just about an hour ago. That storm has been going for over 100 miles that you're showing there on that satellite and lightning loop. Lots, as Josh said in chat, lots and lots and lots of golf ball size hail with that thunderstorm as it's moved across Illinois. Had one report of tennis ball size hail in Decatur, Illinois earlier this evening. So that was the largest I saw. But yeah, very impressive, what we call an elevated thunderstorm. Not a lot of surface-based instability, but up in the upper levels, a lot of instability and a lot of very big hail. So very impressive to watch that go across Illinois tonight.
And during the day tomorrow, we're going to kind of end up with the same thing. I was just looking at some of the raw numbers. Your dew points are coming up. We've got dew points into the 70s in South Texas now at the moment, coming on shore. You guys, you can see it with the south wind flow at the moment. You got like Huntsville's got 77 over 67. Even here tonight, and the 60s go well on to the north. We got low 60s all the way up into Hot Springs in Arkansas and beyond. So the stage is being set even tonight. It's not as if we're waiting to see, what's going to happen with this whole thing. By the way, we still have a slight risk tonight. I think that's been upgraded or updated since this because it's no longer back to the west. And then on Monday, here's the area. Brett, you still believe in this?
Here's the thing, guys. We got an enhanced risk that really runs from Oklahoma City to the east of St. Louis over into southwest Indiana. I do believe in the enhanced risk area. I do believe that's level 3 out of 5 if you're keeping up at home for severe weather. The question marks that I currently have, and the SPC now questions it a little bit more too, is the potential for tornado activity tomorrow. The storms that we've been monitoring this evening, they're riding just on the north side of what we call a warm front. That separates that more stable air to the north to the unstable air down to the south, where those dew points are really kicking up. But what we're looking at is along that boundary, you have wind shifts, especially in the lower atmosphere. And as we get some of that high wind speed, jet streak activity coming over top of that tomorrow, with maybe more backed winds at the surface, I could see there being the potential, if we have enough instability, for a tornado or two across especially portions of southern Illinois into Missouri. Now, some of the high resolution models tonight are showing that possibility a little bit better because it's showing better surface-based and low-level instability values, which is something that was kind of lacking earlier. I'm not totally confident in that particular piece playing out at the current time. What I am confident in is us getting some very large supercell thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon and evening that may actually root above a capping inversion just a little bit, producing large to potentially very large hail, golf ball to tennis ball to baseball size hail over Oklahoma, maybe portions of Missouri, southeast Kansas, and then potentially a wind damage threat as those congeal and form into a convective system that we'll deal with likely later tomorrow night. And then we'll get another round again on Tuesday, which the potential could be a little better for tornadoes, in my opinion, along that warm frontal axis, maybe southern Indiana, northern Kentucky, central Kentucky, and southern Ohio.
Yeah, so let's look at it here. These are dew points that are coming into play here, and this is the new NAM forecast. It's just now coming across the 0Z NAM that showed up just a few moments ago. That's 0Z. So we go all the way up until 12Z tomorrow morning. Again, the blue that you see there indicating it's an isotherm, which means that it's equal temperature wise. And so anywhere you've got the sort of, it is blue, isn't it, you guys? I'm colorblind.
Yep.
The blue is 60 degrees or greater. And that's, some of those temperatures. In fact, there's some mid 60s there and dew points even tomorrow morning, Drew, that come all the way up across the Arklatex and coming across the Red River there as well. And then moving further along here until about noon tomorrow, look at, you can see some 70s beginning to creep in with our dew point. So tons of instability there. At least the moisture is going to be available for this system coming in across that area and sneaking in from the south.
Yeah, that's what I see as well. Drew, what are you seeing right now? And I'll get a little bit deeper. I'm going to go into one of the other cam models after you discuss.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it earlier today in one of our chat rooms, and that warm layer above the surface tomorrow, Brett, that you were showing this morning. I think that limits a little bit initially, the cap as we call it. So it's going to be interesting to see how the thunderstorms play out. And before we went live tonight, I was looking at another model. One of the models they use a lot of the TV stations across the country, and it has kind of a explosion of sales mid-afternoon to early evening tomorrow, but it very much looked like a damaging wind, large hail threat, and maybe some spin-up tornadoes in the clusters of thunderstorms, but you didn't really have that supercell look at any point during the day on that one model run. Now, again, that may be wrong, but we'll have to see how it all plays out during the afternoon tomorrow.
Well, Jarvis, if you could take my source here, I know you've got my window.
There you go.
We're going to look at the high resolution rapid refresher was we refer to it as the HER. The 0Z run is now in across our area here. And one of the things that's got my attention is this. You see this area of convection here across portions of Missouri. That's at 18Z or 1 p.m. We've changed the time. We're back on daylight time, so this is 1 o'clock instead
I'm
of
against
noon.
that, by the way. Totally against that not being noon anymore.
Right. Well, if you look at the 0Z run and you progress out a little bit, you can kind of see a wave here coming out of southern Missouri, and watch what happens to those cells up to the north of that. See those supercell thunderstorms, one back near Kansas City, one to the north of St. Louis. You've got more cells forming here. Look at this, just north of St. Louis, you've got some mean looking cells. Now I'm going to pull a forecast sounding for you. That is a problem. If this comes to fruition, that is PDS tornado hazard type, but that's a giant wagon wheel sounding. Basically, we've got low level turning, and then it continues to increase in speed as we go aloft. That is a 60-degree critical angle ahead of that supercell thunderstorm, which is great turning for these storms to verify the potential for tornadoes. And in this case, this type of a look is actually a strong tornado look if that were to verify. And then down below, you've got 73 over 69 dew points, and you've got a pretty moist column here. All of this is what we call instability. This is a positive level of instability here that goes from the surface all the way up to 200 millibars. So that tells me that the updraft acceleration there, if this particular model is correct, is very, very intense. And that's at 23Z. So those storms pop off again right around the 21Z time frame, 3 to 4 o'clock. And they get intense rapidly because the environment on this particular model that we're looking at is very intense. And these storms down here in southeast Kansas, I'm sure they mean business as well. We're going to go
my
with
computer, Jarvis. Pull up the iPad because I can go full screen, and I think you can see it a little bit better.
Yeah.
I'm following what he's doing.
We'll let David roll through that.
Yeah.
We'll roll on forward a couple of frames, but you can see
that's it. 1 o'clock and then 2.
There we go. And that's when you get mean cells going there. I think that's actually a different run. Well, no, it's not.
That's the new run, isn't it?
At the 0Z? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it just doesn't have the helicity tracks on it. That's all right, though. But, yeah, you can see, though, you get the gist of the situation there with, the potential being there on this particular model for right-turning supercells. And as you go forward in time, you can see that MCS, or that convective cluster that I mentioned earlier, that looks like it would come out of Oklahoma and Kansas, racing across portions of Arkansas and Missouri there, with a potential for a couple of more tornadoes. So we got to watch this closely. This is a different type of look than we've seen really over the last 24 hours. We have not seen the unstable look. What I'm going to do, David, and I want you to, if you would,
tell me what to do.
Shift to the 2 meter. Okay. Here's what we'll do. It's not working for me, Brandon.
Or hit control and then use your scroll wheel.
Okay. There we go. All right. I got you.
That's better.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to look a little deeper into the moisture portion of this. This is still from the 0Z HER, but you can see there's moisture pooling up here. There's isobars that run left to right. They've got the kinks in them. That is the warm frontal axis that we talk about. You've got moisture pooling that's taking place along that boundary. That's very interesting because it takes a higher resolution model to really see this, but you can see 69, 68, 70-degree dew points there just north of St. Louis along that boundary. And then you've got easterly flow there with a southerly flow to the south. That's what we're going to need to get really intense type tornadoes. And David, this year Here, I'm going to pull a box sounding in this area because pivotal weather is so great, and it allows you to get an average of what a sounding looks like. That's is pretty good. I mean, that's as good as it
Yeah.
gets in many cases, you know.
Wow.
So that's concerning. That's definitely a change. And then there's a point and click. You've got almost an easterly flow below. You know, possible hazard type of PDS tornado. But the thing that sticks out like a sore thumb to me, and this is where fronts are important, they provide wind shear. You can see in the 1 kilometer layer, we got 270 storm relative helicity. In the 3 kilometer layer, it jumps over 600 there. And we've got supercells that likely will take a right turn along that boundary. So, I mean, I'm very, very interested now in that area just to the north of St. Louis across south central Illinois as we go through time.
And all of that is just long and north of the warm front as it goes on, comes in from the south. It gets very linear. I'm looking at the NAM now a little bit too. It gets very linear pretty quickly on the NAM back into eastern Oklahoma and Kansas at the moment, and down into Texas as well. If you know, depends on what you believe in. The NAM looks to be a little more suppressed than the HER. The HER, you know, I didn't expect the HER to be that gangbuster about the supercells, but pretty much is. And then that,
Because if you remember the SPC, I believe this morning, didn't they have the 10% out for tornadoes for tomorrow?
They had a 10% out for tornadoes a little south of where these are forecast to track now. But, you know, the parameters, again, still, this is, keep in mind, guys, this is one model. This is one model. This is one run. The NAM is a lot less gung-ho with this. This is just something we've got to keep an eye on. And this year, as we went through severe season, keep in mind, a couple weeks ago, we had Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio tornadoes. The ones in Indiana and Ohio were pretty strong. They were on a frontal axis that's sort of like this. So, you know, this is the type of setup that could produce some nasty weather, you know, as we go into tomorrow afternoon and evening.
Hey, real quick, Jarvis just messaged me. We've got a couple questions coming across chat. If either one of you guys want to take that, had one about St. Louis from Uncommon Woman. What about St. Louis tomorrow? And then the other one from Oscar. What about Kansas City? Will we get bad tornadoes in Kansas City tomorrow?
there's a bad storm right now and about to move into Terre Haute, by the way. If,
Yeah, let me see if I can pull that up really quick.
Yes, Don't Fear Truth in chat was in just a little bit ago. He's in Terre Haute and said, doesn't look good. And yes, that storm is just west that had the large hail and may have some hail there in your area if that holds together.
Yeah, we just, sorry, David, go ahead.
No, I said it's a doozy.
Yeah, we just got an update on that warning, actually. Remains in effect for Edgar and northeastern Clark counties until 10:15 Central, 7 miles southeast of Kansas as of 9:21, or 10 miles northwest
Dave,
of
you wanna pull
Marshall,
that up on
moving
your iPad?
southeast at 40 miles per hour. They still are calling for 60-mile-an-hour winds and quarter-size hail. That hail may be a little larger than that, but Interstate 70 between mile marker 136 and 154 will be impacted soon.
Yeah, pull it up there, Jarvis, and we'll take a look at it again. Again, long term sell here. This thing's been around for quite some time and is still pretty formidable, coming in just to the north of I-70 and making its way pretty much a little bit south of due east and coming into Terre Haute, Indiana, the Prairie Creek area there, just southwest of Indianapolis over the next little while. Strong thunderstorm. That's the reflectivity. There's still some rotation there. There was a little bit earlier. I don't see it like I did a little bit earlier. That was a little bit more compact. There's nothing. Let's see.
Looks like there's a little bit along that tail flank there, David. Maybe, you know, that may even be some side lobe because I think that may be hail contamination.
I'm sure it is. Am I looking at the veil here and just running past it? I just don't see it. There it is. Yeah, so there's your hail.
Definitely got some hail issues there, no doubt about that.
And then looks like hurricane weather asking about Oklahoma for tomorrow. Eastern and northeastern Oklahoma, you're very much in that level 3 risk. I think the large hail risk probably is going to be your worst threat, but tornado threat is still there as well. Hurricane weather. Hurricane Heather. I'm sorry. I misread that. Hurricane Heather. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Ask her if we ever dated, because I think I know that girl.
Oh, here we go. Off the rails already.
No. I just think we chatted a time or two.
St. Louis tornado. Here's the deal. Sedalia, Missouri. Yes, keep an eye on the sky. You could see some activity. It could be in the form of a supercell, or it could be in the form of a MCS. More likely to be MCS later. Let's see. Rolla, Missouri, between Springfield and St. Louis tomorrow afternoon. Again, keep an eye to the sky. That's most definitely an area that's in the hot zone. St. Louis, again, yes, you need to keep an eye out. Literally, the positioning of that warm frontal boundary is going to be very important, because we're going to be looking at that. It's going to be potentially like train tracks. We could see storms form along that and ride that boundary, and those are the ones that are going to have enhanced wind shear to work with. And also, once we get QLCS upscale development that comes out of Oklahoma, Kansas later tomorrow, it's going to do the same thing. You're going to see that ride that boundary, and along and south of that, that's where you're going to have the potential for your spin-up tornadoes within that as well.
Yeah, by the way, if we ride the NAM on out, it's out to 60 hours now. That gets us on out into Tuesday a little bit, where we still have an enhanced risk there. You can see it's an afternoon kind of a thing after that. That's in the southern part of this whole thing that we're talking about. They're the thunderstorms that try to form along the boundary coming into Alabama, central Alabama there. And as we go through, this is at right before dark, but you can see the explosion that tries to happen there. Right there along Sand Mountain. It looks like all the way down to Jefferson County to Birmingham, back westward over to Coleman. And in that area, that's the Tuesday time frame. This is going to be Tuesday afternoon late. Let's see. Yeah, that's 0Z Wednesday. So that's Tuesday afternoon. It's 7 p.m. That's what the radar might look like. But again, the actual frontal boundary will be further back to the west. This is pre-frontal that'll be coming in. So there are thunderstorms that'll be down into Alabama at that point. And maybe even some that we can see on the new camera there in what's it called? North Alabama.
North Alabama.
Yeah.
Got a couple of them. Got some in southern Tennessee and a couple in North Alabama now. I think so. The one thing that I will say about the Alabama deal is it looks like, while we do have some intense thunderstorms that look to develop, those could probably be gusty wind, large hail producers, maybe an outside shot at a tornado, but the surface low is passing well to the north. And it also looks like that we start to see our winds at the surface die down some and veer around. So the tornado ingredients are not so good to the south. Now, if you go up into Kentucky, especially you get north of Nashville and Tennessee and head up toward the Ohio River, then I think we've got some ingredients up there for some of those storms that could potentially go tornadic, even as the winds veer a little bit, Tuesday evening into the early overnight.
All right, so that's sort of the current and the forecast as we move along through the next couple of days with the extensive amount of. Let me get back to it here. Not that. You can see that's the risk coming up. And then on Tuesday, there's the risk again that includes Cincinnati, as Brett was just talking about, Jackson, Kentucky, all the way almost across the border to Nashville and Charleston. By the way, never take a circle and just go, I'm not in that circle. I'm not in that orange. It's all good here. Undoubtedly, 9 out of 10 times when I've been on the air over the past many years, the first tornado warning comes well away from one of these circles. It just seems to happen all the time. So don't think that just because you're not in that circle that you are excluded from what could be happening here. And again, on Tuesday, this is just what Brett was talking about. The higher probabilities of tornadoes would certainly be further to the north in North Alabama and up into this Lexington, Frankfort, Corbin, London, and Williamsburg area. I'm just going to pass through these pretty quickly. That's Monday. That's the hail outlook on Monday, which goes
Big
down into
hail
Oklahoma. Yeah, big hail threat. All the way up to Jeff City. The tornado outlook there is 5 to 9% there underneath. That's again Monday. Did I save enough of these, you think, to talk
Hey,
about?
something David mentioned just a little while ago that's a great piece of information that you guys need to think about, though, is that green area that he showed on the map outside of the enhanced area there. We had those EF3 plus tornadoes up there in Indiana, Ohio, and it was in a 2% area for tornado development a couple weeks ago. So again, these boundaries, meteorology is not a perfect science. We're going to have to watch this through the day tomorrow and the day Tuesday, because things can change quickly, because this is a very complex and dynamic weather pattern that we're going to go into the next 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't know if I think I did include it. What about this, B?
Snow.
What's this?
This is interesting, and this is again another late season snow event. Would not surprise me. The sandhills there in Nebraska and southern North Dakota, and then across the lakes get a good hammering of snow, and in the interior portions of New England. That's a foot plus for some areas, especially upper Michigan there and across portions of upstate New York, New Hampshire, and Vermont. It just seems like winter does not want to end just yet.
No, and our buddy up there that works in Maine, I was talking to him a little bit earlier, and there's a good shot there. Interior Maine, especially, could pick up there's some 20-inch totals up there, but doesn't quite make it down into Massachusetts, Connecticut, or New York City. But I thought what was interesting is like the mountains of West Virginia could get pummeled here. I remember this kind of a thing happening many, many years ago. Do you all remember many years ago as we got into, I want to say it was almost into May, that we had a big storm that dropped a bunch of snow at Mount Mitchell, well up into where you were just at, Brad, up into Gatlinburg, but on the other side of the mountain, actually. This is going to be a little event there where they're going to get some upslope that'll be taking place there. And this is a rain event, first of all, that comes into central Pennsylvania. I know what I wanted to show you, but I don't think it goes beyond here.
That low occlusion in the transfer offshore is just interesting to me. You see that thing occlude over the Great Lakes region, the northern lakes, and then the energy transfers off the East Coast and runs inland a little bit. And you see that secondary area, big snow north of Rochester or north of Poughkeepsie, New York there, up the interstate corridor.
Yeah, watch this too. I thought that was really interesting because it's been a long time since. So here comes the low again, the low that we were looking at on the satellite that was out over California a little while ago. So this thing regroups over southeastern Colorado and then comes across as a little hooker sort of a thing.
Yep.
That ends up on the back side of it. Notice the 540 line and where that ends up. Have you seen that? Now, it's not the same 540 that we would have been in January, but notice that it digs pretty well.
Very, very strange pattern that we're still in. We're going to continue to see the Enzo factor here for a little bit. With this, we're leaving I'm sure you guys have heard a ton about El Nino and La Nina over the last couple of months. Super Nino and Super La Nina coming. That bombing system, it definitely brings that 540 line down in the Tennessee Valley. So we're not out of frost season down here by far. And I wouldn't be surprised. See, look at that. That's snow showers across Kentucky with that deep cold as the low transfers off the coast of New Jersey and New York there at, in the midnight 80s. Gatlinburg could get an inch or two of snow from that.
Look at that.
Especially the peaks, Klingman's Dome and Beach Mountain, North Carolina, Cataloochee. That would be interesting for them.
Yeah. I thought that was really, especially since I just saw Memphis put out a little thing about go ahead and plant. The Weather Service today put out a little thing that says, it's over, go ahead and plant. Yeah, get off of me.
Definitely too early for that.
And then the other thing, close your eyes because I'm going, this could send you into
This is going to send me into a frenzy.
It probably is. Tell us about what you're going to do about this. This is the eclipse, the sun that's going to.
So, guys, I have been planned to go cover this eclipse, as we're going to have teams out across from Texas all the way up through the Lakes region. My plan has been to do this east of Dallas. So at the current time, and literally every single model run that I have seen from the beginning
right
of
here.
the PFS to now,
I've got them right here.
Lots of cloud cover across Texas. So I'm hopeful if I miss the eclipse, I'm going to be dealing with severe weather down there. And some of the models are actually showing that being quite possible with the system set up. Now, the southwesterly component to the flow that we've been talking about, even for this system, if that sets up across Texas, that could literally cause cloud cover issues along the entire path of the eclipse, because those clouds are going to stream southwest to northeast.
This is the Canadian.
Yep. All the models are showing some cloud cover, but you can see, which one is that one, David?
GFS.
The GFS shows lots. I think the Euro does too.
The
Look
Euro.
at all the precip there.
The blend.
That's not good. That's not a good forecast for us.
And this is from the blend for this is 1 p.m. in Texas, and this is the amount of coverage. Sky coverage 75%. You got to think. I was looking at it today, and we had about 50% coverage here in northeast Alabama, and I thought this would be a horrible thing if it was 50%.
Let me tell you something. A lot of media entities out there, traditional media entities, have spent ungodly amounts of money on getting teams in place to cover this eclipse because they've coordinated with me on that some. And I literally believe that going to be a lot of sad networks, because the cloud cover and honestly the pattern of storm systems. If you look at our recent history, we're dealing with a storm system, a pretty big one, every 5-6 days or so. We're dealing with something every 2 to 3. Everything is set in stone now. In my opinion, there's a window of opportunity, but it's closing. The closer we get to it, the more that we're seeing cloud cover models continue to show this. I mean, there's going to be 1 or 2 needles in the haystack where you can see this thing and see totality across the U.S., but man, it doesn't look good.
Hey, got to give a quick shout out to Southern Hen. Thank you so much hitting us up with the super chat there. So appreciate that. Said, I really love all 3 of your perspectives on the event predicted for the next 3 days. Very detailed and thorough for the event. Thank you. And asking if we'll be live streaming tomorrow. So again, thank you again for that.
Yes. To answer your question, we will definitely be doing some streaming. We will be doing some streaming here. I will be doing some basically POV raw stuff from the vehicle, but I'll be talking to David, Drew, and the gang here during the severe weather. I'm going to have to get up very, very early in the morning to leave. David and Drew, I think, from my perspective right now, my best course of action is to drive up Highway 22 to Memphis and jump on I-55, because if we're going to see individual thunderstorms, I think based on the signal, Missouri may be the spot if we're going to see any of those. I don't think that I could make it, even if I left very early. I don't know that I could make it to the Red River area across Texas and southern Oklahoma in time. Plus, we got a Chase Tuesday, and it looks like that's probably going to be a Kentucky storm chase.
And gas prices are still pretty high. You know that, right?
Gas prices are ridiculous. Fuel prices, data prices, prices of everything are stupid right now.
Yeah, I paid $12 for a hamburger the other day. Well, we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
What else?
Travel. David, the eclipse. Let's talk a little bit more about the eclipse, just because my biggest concern with this is there are literally millions of people who have planned to travel to see this eclipse.
As have I.
And right, Jarvis says he has planned this as well. And even if we somehow do get large areas of clearing, the traffic, the various issues that come with just large groups of people being in a city or a town, those are potential problems that some of these municipalities have already had to plan for with the National Guard and mobile. I know up in Erie County, our developer Tyler Yuschak was talking about they've already got mobile hospitals ready to deploy up there across the Erie area because they're in that totality region.
Yeah. All right. This just feels like Y2K all over again for me, though. I'm sorry, but I don't really understand. I get it. It's kind of like having everybody at Legion Field, with 100,000 people, and I get the communications problems that comes with having millions of people in the same area. But how long is that going to last, do you think? And
well, that's my question. The other piece to that that's more problematic for me is, do we see plans change? Because as these cloud cover forecasts become more refined, people have access to all this information on the internet now. So if there's a needle in the haystack spot, you might see a whole bunch of people change their plans to go and, get into those areas. Now, that could be more problematic if you've got only 3 or 4 good little regions where everybody then congregates to, instead of, numerous states where there's cloud-free environment.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think there'll be comms problems. They're doing a lot of things in Hot Springs. I think there's going to be a mass wedding in Hot Springs or something that I've been hearing about. They're expecting over 1 million people. And water problems because, the spring's only going to feed so many people, apparently.
Wow.
That's crazy. By the way, if you're looking for, and I don't know how to actually do this, but NASA has a great little program called Eclipse, Total Solar Eclipse, that I'm showing you. Wait a minute, I'm not showing you right now. Let me fade back over to it. This thing is amazing. You put your zip code in over here on the left-hand side, and it'll tell you exactly. Let me see if I can put my zip code in there. I don't even know my zip code. 35968. 35968.
Come on, Dave. You got to know your zip code.
Well, just
what's
hush.
Your social?
Did he say that? I just want to know. Did he say that to where everybody could hear it, or is it just me?
Yes.
Just
Yes. I'm on the air.
All right. My social is Nunya. You see that movie Narnia? Well, it's Nunya. So this is like where it's coming to me. And if you look at it, you see the little sun right there, and see how it's being eaten away. So if you put in your zip code there, it'll show you exactly what it's supposed to look like at exactly the time. The time's 12:42 over here on the clock that I should see what I'm going to see from my neighborhood. And eventually it goes to its peak here of 87% here at my house. And it's supposed to look like that right there. And then that's at 2:01. And it tells you right here when it's peak at 2:03. It says on the little graphic in the middle, and goes all the way up until the deal is gone right there at 3:21. Just a cool, amazing little program. Drew, what's yours? Because you're gonna be Bennett and sort of in it.
Yeah, 35630.
35630 zip.
Yep.
Can I get your credit card number, Drew?
No, we're going to pass on that, Jarvis. What do you?
Look at that, Drew. You're at like 92%. Is your 92.2? I think is that at 2:00? Yeah, that's at 2:00. So.
And what's cool too, Dave, if you remember from the last eclipse in 2017, if you live in the woods or got trees or really anything that casts shadows on the ground during the eclipse, you see the shape of the eclipse sun literally all over the ground. It's just the coolest thing in the world. So even if you're not, 80, 90% Western North Carolina, looks like we had somebody asking about that a second ago. Yes, you'll see some of the eclipse. No, you won't be in totality, but it's still cool to look at. So definitely, if you have eclipse glasses, go outside, take a look at it. If you don't, you probably still have time maybe to order some eclipse glasses and get here.
I think you do. I got mine like 2 days later. I got mine yesterday, so I think you can still order them. Like it says here, it's 7 days, 16 hours, 13 minutes, 25 seconds before it happens. But the cool thing, Drew, I was talking to a photographer about this today, because don't you know somebody's going to come out with some wicked photography here, as great as people are out there with their imagination and that kind of thing. I remember from the eclipses that every tree that had a pinhole in it showed the crescent on the ground. And if you were, I guess, innovative, I was thinking about it today, if you went through and you found a tree that was able to do that, somebody's going to put a pinhole in every leaf and see what they can get on the ground. I guarantee you, somebody's going to do something that's unbelievable photographically before all this is over with.
I don't disagree.
I didn't ask you.
Yeah, you did.
No, go ahead. It's probably time for you to talk again.
That's okay. I think, if I were Drew, even at 93% totality, you might want to rent your house out as an Airbnb during this. I'm just going to tell you guys, I tried to get an Airbnb in Waco, Texas, and $2,500 per night was not going to get it for me. Do not get price gouged, because hotels and Airbnbs are absolutely insane right now when I've went and looked at those.
Every time I hear, or we were just talking about all the cloud cover, which I thought the first time it showed up at 360 hours away, I thought it's good that it looks like it's going to be cloudy, because typically it's the opposite of whatever the 360 says, 10 days away. But it's held on to that cloudy thing. So now I'm thinking, all right, about the only way you'd really get a great photographic video of this whole event might be to be above the clouds if you happen to be in an airliner or something and you're in the right seat.
Yep.
And I saw where I don't know what airline's doing it, but there is an airline that specifically planned a flight from, I believe, Austin, Texas, up to somewhere in New York, and they are planning on flying the path of totality and trying to keep their passengers in the totality as long as they can. So yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Be cool. That'd be the only guaranteed spot, I would think. As Brett said, I know of some of the networks and some of the media who are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars covering this from the ground.
They have built sets for this, specifically for this this event.
Yes.
The one piece of this that makes little sense, though, is, see, they can't go in the air. They can't use a live view in the air, so that's out. But the FAA has already warned too, though, of flight delays. So I would hate to book a flight, miss totality because of a delay on the ground or the plane coming in getting delayed. I mean, it's a bad situation. I really wish that we had more of a better forecast in terms of cloud cover, because for us, it's 2045 the next time that the totality comes over the United States.
I believe so.
Long time.
And one thing too, guys, really quick to think about, like the last eclipse, 2017 in August, right? So most of the country was cloud free. Here in Alabama, we had some cumulus clouds, middle of the day, pop up cumulus clouds, just your normal summertime weather. And I'll never forget, during the eclipse, we actually cooled. So we were in the mid to upper 80s, and sun gets about 91, 92%. Temperatures dropped to the, lower 80s, upper 70s, and all the clouds dissipated. It's going to be interesting this year to see if we do have a weather system coming across the country during the eclipse, how the eclipse impacts the cloud cover. Because again, if we've got convective elements with thunderstorms, think about being 2:00 in the afternoon with thunderstorms and you're in the path of totality. It's probably going to get pitch dark, because if you've got clouds, it's going to look like the middle of the night for at least, I'd say 20, 30 minutes if you're in thick cloud cover. So it's going to be a lot of interesting things to watch. While obviously we want clear skies to see the eclipse, if we do have clouds, we'll probably have some pretty cool stuff to talk about to see how the eclipse impacted the current weather during that day next Monday.
Was it 2017 was the last one?
Believe so.
I did a live shot from Denver for NASA TV. I got a screen grab of it here somewhere. Don't you all say at the same time you want to see it?
Show it, David. Please show it.
I don't
Get
know
it.
that I can
Quick.
find it. 17.
Yes, August, I believe, Dave.
It's me with my finger in my nose.
Jeremy Wilson says they declared some counties in South Carolina as e-learning days for students.
They did that in Pennsylvania as well in some areas. The day before, the day of, and the day after, I believe, which the day before I think is Sunday, but the day of, the day after, I think was a travel situation that they were concerned about. And some different school systems have planned to not hold classes for months prior to this.
See me? It's me.
And Matthew has a good question too. He said, could swarms of bugs or bats show up on radar during the eclipse because they think it's the middle of the night?
That's interesting.
That's a good question.
I don't know why
We'll
not.
have to wait and see, I guess, right?
I mean, I don't see why they
Well,
couldn't.
I'm truly interested in what the animals will think. I mean, I was talking about it today about 30 minutes before dark, Penny's ready to go to bed. So is she gonna freaking go into a fit? And I am too when I think about it. Like right there, 30 minutes before dark, I'm ready to go to bed too. So it could be equally as devastating for the both of us. All right.
Remember how strange it looks too. Like that's the one thing I keep remembering from 2017. Before I wasn't in the totality here, but the sun's shining, but all the street lights come on, here, and we were about 90%. So, it almost feels like you go to the eye doctor and you have your eyes dilated or something weird to me when you're close, that 80 to 90% range, because it just looks so funny outside. You've got sunshine, but it's not bright. That's the best way I can describe it. So very, very interesting.
Very, very interesting. And I'll tell you, so this is what I wore for the eclipse. I was at Weather Nation. I think I showed you a few moments ago. And this is what I wore to make sure that I was all right. And I made it through the whole event.
Oh, my goodness. My goodness. That's a classic image right there, Jarvis. Make sure that makes the air. Yeah, there you go.
That's awesome.
Yep. Just thought I'd share.
That's funny.
All right. Are we done?
Guys, I think we've covered it. I think we'll be going by mid-afternoon tomorrow, probably 1-2 o'clock Central Time, with severe weather coverage. We'll kind of ramp it up, talk about it. I think we'll probably start to see, mesoscale discussions and maybe watches fly by that time. So I'm going to get prepared, get packed, and get ready to take off early in the morning.
All right, Drew, anything else to add? How your kids? You have like
Kids are good.
11 of them now? Is it? You have 10?
Not yet.
11?
Not yet, but we got a whole basketball team and plus one. So,
well, I want to ask.
Good.
Jarvis has
Dave,
a question.
Yeah, I want to ask Dave how his beach trip was. We had severe weather and we didn't have you. You were sitting on the beach drinking margaritas. What's up? How was it?
Well, but I was also ready to do a live shot, and y'all blew me off for a 6 box, and I don't even know who was in the other 5 images, but I looked up and you had a 6 box, and I told you to come to me because I had some college people there who wanted to be on TV for the first time and meet you, Jarvis, and talk to you, and I was ready to go right there from Destin, Florida. And I'll be back there in a couple of weeks. I know there's some people right now at the Whale's Tail on the beach there in Destin, Florida, who are watching us, and I really appreciate it. I'll be back there, guys, pretty soon and pay my tab, and it all looks pretty good from this point. Down at the beach, people came in by the hordes like last weekend. It really got crowded. I don't like to be there when there's crowds there so much anymore, but um, it was pretty amazing. The water temperature. Let's talk about this because Brett and I've been talking about this, and Michael Lowry, a friend of mine from the Weather Channel, who knows his stuff, from Florida State. Michael's down in Miami now, working, but he's been around with FEMA and NHC and was the hurricane expert at the Weather Channel there for many years. Michael put a couple of stories out, tweets, whatever they're called anymore. They're still called tweets.
I think so. Twits or something like that.
Yeah, we still call them tweets. You
Still
can call
tweets.
them post, but that don't sound right.
All right, so he put a couple of things about how warm the Mid-Atlantic was, the Caribbean, how much warmer than normal. Like months ago, he was talking about it. And sure enough, the Gulf of Mexico warmed up toward the 1st of March. It was into the 70s already, which is super unusual. That starts a fish migration normally to the north, and there's a lot of stuff that happens because of the water temperature. And then we had a cold snap that came in about 2 weeks ago that we went down to 35 there in Destin, and the water temperature went down to 67, and it's still there. So it's kind of odd. I mean, there have been just warming, and then it was cold for a couple of days. It was below, it was like 55 one day for a daytime high down there, about 20 degrees below the norm. And the water temperature in the Gulf of Mexico is now cooled somewhat. Takes it a whole lot longer to cool than warm, but pretty interesting stuff. I'll be looking forward to seeing what goes on in the months to come. It's still warmer than normal, I think, even at this point.
That big ridge, David, that's showing up down there, that's actually one of my concerns for, causing some capping issues, is going to keep the Gulf clear for a while, it looks like, and we might see that warm back up pretty rapidly. I know near shore temperatures were down just a little bit. And I know that, another issue that we've had recently along, especially the western Gulf Coast, has been salinity levels of the water too, made for a really awful crawfish season so far across portions of Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas, which has boosted. A friend of mine had a 25-pound sack of crawfish today. To get a sack was $225, which is nuts for raw crawfish.
Wow.
That's in Louisiana too, and they're usually cheaper there because they're usually bigger and more plentiful in that area.
I've seen them go from tree to tree and with those traps and pull them things in by the dozens. But that's that's a big deal if you're headed down to the Gulf Coast. Is basically what's happening there. A lot of people are still catching fish off of the beach. That's still kind of going on. Sharks were near shore. I can't tell you how many sharks I saw. Several of them caught a black tip. I saw a black tip in about knee deep of water that was 5 foot long. And you mentioned salinity, Brett, and all that rain into South Alabama and North Florida over the past 3 weeks had caused low tide to bring in muddy water down into Crab Island, which pissed a bunch of people off. If you don't know what Crab Island is, if you go over to Fort Walton from Destin and you see the area over there just on the right side of the bridge where everybody gathers, and kind of reminds me of the infield at Talladega.
It definitely does, and it is a massive tourist attraction down there, especially this time of the year for spring break.
And what's huge is that they've got these little gondola things now that you can rent for the day, $1,000 a day. It's full of liquor, and you can rent it and take it out there. And the other night, about 10 o'clock, I went across the bridge, and there were still 3 of those trying to get back in.
Yep.
And the wind was blowing them in the other direction. We're going to see that disaster pretty soon on the news, I'm sure, when you just hand over a round or sort of a round sort of a deal with a roof on it and a small engine.
Yep. Well,
all right.
Let's I'm going to go to the poll that I created just to ask our group here a little while ago. Will we see a moderate risk upgrade on Monday or Tuesday from the Storm Prediction Center? 65% out of 91 votes voted yes. They think we'll see a moderate risk upgrade of our people watching here. 16% said no, and 19% said yes, but only one of the 2 days. So
Wow.
I think it depends on how things pan out on the cams. If we see
Mhm.
those supercells looking more likely across that Missouri Valley area on that warm front, that could prompt something like that.
That's the first time I'd seen,
Yep.
evidence of that where it sort of made me think that way. So
Right.
that would be interesting.
Right.
All right, we've been on an hour. Let's wrap it up because I don't know. I got stuff to do.
Guys, stay tuned. We'll be back tomorrow again, 2 o'clock Central. I think we'll go ahead and probably schedule a feed up here and have Jarvis get that set up. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. We'll make that decision soon. Hit the like, subscribe button, and then hit the bell so that you get all of the notifications when we do set that up. It will alert you to all of your devices, and we will be live here on Live Storms Media Television tomorrow. Myself, meteorologist David Neal, Drew, and then producer Jarvis, who makes all the pretty little red scrolling graphics on the background. We'll be here and we'll be live as soon as the activity pops.
Drew?
Sounds good. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. And thanks for a very active chat tonight. We appreciate you guys.
Yeah, we do. We'll be back again tomorrow. And if you got any suggestions, anything, we're very interactive here, by the way. There's really nobody that we wouldn't talk to. So if you just want to shout out and give us a, little, I truly thought by now I'd be a Walmart grader. So I'll talk to anybody if you just want to give us a buzz.
We definitely are going to get the super chats, guys. If you give us any super chats, we're very gracious for that. What that actually does, though, is if you give us a question, it pops up in a very large prompt here so that we see your question and we will promptly get back to that if you ever submit a super chat to us. And I think we had one tonight. Who was that from, Drew? Do you remember that name on that handle? I believe that was the Southern Hen, $20. Thanks so very much.
Wow. So kind. Very, very kind.
So I'm wrapping it from here in Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back tomorrow. David, you got anything to add?
Oh, that's it. That's it.
We'll see you guys.
Wrap it up. I don't know if I've heard you wrap it up, so I want to hear you. I want to hear you tell everybody bye and everything.
For meteorologist David Neal and Drew Richards in Northwest Alabama, I'm meteorologist Brett Adair. We'll be back tomorrow.
Adair? I've never pronounced it Adair.